Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started and call the meeting to order at 5:37. 5:35, sorry.
What time are you looking
I gotta take my glasses off. Okay,
I'm 5:34.
whatever time you want it to be. All right, roll call. At large Cummins.
Here.
Ward 1 Welker.
Present.
Ward 2 Helm. God, I can't even read.
Do you want to start over?
Here.
And Ward 3 Johnston. Not here. Okay,
NP. Not present.
not present. Correct. All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next is approval of the agenda. Any questions, concerns, discussion needed, changes needed to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Cummins, seconded by Welker.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
All right, next is communications. There is no scheduled communications, and there is no one in the public present at the meeting. So we will move on then to consent agenda. These are routine items that will be enacted by one motion without separate discussion unless a council member requests separate consideration. Approval of the council meeting minutes from November 4th, 2024. Approval of the library minutes, October 14th, 2024. Approval of the library director's report, October 2024. Approval of the investment and treasurer's report, October 2024. Approval of the Chamber's lighted parade and community Christmas tree lighting, November 30th. Approval of pay application number 18, replace Highway 38 South Street to Iowa 130, Triple B Construction for $277,100.72. And approval of the claims register, which includes claims paid under the current purchase policy.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Helm, seconded by Cummins.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins.
Yes.
Helm.
Yes.
All right, moving on to city business. First item under city business is discussion and possible action concerning TIF report.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Maggie Berger with Spear Financial. Thank you for letting me come to your meeting virtually. I've got three meetings I'm doing this evening. So I believe in your packet, you were given your annual TIF and debt report. These are those colorful pages that we talk about. I know you have a long agenda, so I'll keep my comments brief tonight. We talk through your general obligation debt in the red section. We always give you the amount that was issued, when it was issued, what the TIC or the true interest cost was. We give you the principal and interest. And then we also tell you, total principal and interest for the general obligation debt outstanding for the city right now is $6,525,000. The city pays their debt a number of ways. You use some stormwater revenue. There's some fire revenue, fire rural assessments coming in. We are using some water, some electric, some local option sales tax, some sewer. And then in the very end, whatever you're not using from those other sources is what you levy in the property tax levy. That levy for the next few years is going to be very similar to what that levy is currently in fiscal year 25. It's a few years, about 4 or 5 years before that levy would drop as some of that debt starts to pay off. The city does have outstanding some revenue debt as well. Your largest being the sewer revenue debt that was done back in 2020. That project is locked in with the SRF at a 2% interest rate. We do also have a couple of electric revenue bond issues outstanding, one from 2012 that's set to mature here pretty soon in 2027. And then the newest one being from 2024. The biggest takeaway from these types of debt is they don't count against your debt capacity. Plus, you have to pay them with the revenues of the system. So the sewer utility system has to pay the sewer revenue debt. The electric utility system has to pay the electric revenue debt, and there cannot be any property taxes levied for that type of debt. We go on to your purple pages. You just have one rebate agreement outstanding. That rebate agreement is for housing. It should be paid off in fiscal year 26, or that should be the final date from the agreement that it could be paid on. So we have that in there. Again, because it's a rebate agreement, it does have low to moderate income set aside requirements because it is related to housing. That just means for every dollar that you give the developer, in this case, you're going to set aside 34% of a dollar, and then be able to use those monies to help low to moderate income families in your community. Our yellow pages outline the debt that is being paid back with TIF. And so we identify this as you're issuing general obligation debt. When you're talking about a GO debt, we identify right up front what is eligible to be paid back with TIF. Is it an urban renewal project? You amend urban renewal plans at that point in time, and then we set aside and decide how much of that debt will be paid back. In this case, we've decided upon an amount with your help of about $180,000 of that bigger or larger 2023 general obligation debt that was issued. That had to do with some debt that was already, going to be dropping off that you were already certifying for that would go away, as well as some new urban renewal projects within that debt issuance. We certified that debt, that $180,000, come back to the property taxes every year or come back into the debt service levy. We have that tax increment rebate agreement. And so you're certifying approximately $202,000 in TIF receipts on an annual basis. That number goes down slightly next year when we talk about fiscal year 27, and really that's tied to the fact that you will not have that rebate agreement to certify. I'll remind you, if you enter into a new rebate agreements pretty much stand on their own, meaning they have to produce new revenue for you to rebate back something to them. So you're always going to see the offset of growth for the collection of those TIF dollars as well. In our green section, I want to point out column number 2 on page 1 of the green section. Column number 2, this talks about debt capacity of the city. So I'm going to read straight down column number 2 if you're following along with me. We have a debt property valuation, or I should say a property actual valuation for the city of Tipton of $269,586,687. I do want you to look at column number 1. Column number 1 is a pretty significantly different number at 216 million. So that's a 24.39% growth down there at the bottom of column 1. That is not a growth that you typically see. If you'll all think back with me 15, 18 months ago, we all got a letter from our county assessor saying, hey, you didn't do anything, but remember, we're going to raise your property tax valuation. And that was really a revaluation by the state, and that was really done in every single county. We saw anywhere between 12% increases to 35% increases. So you're really sort of falling right in that normal 20 to 25% rate increase that we saw. What that does in column number 2 is it provides you 5% debt capacity of $13,479,000. Now, that's pretty significant. That's over $2.5 million more than last year because of that growth. You have $6.5 million of debt outstanding, as we mentioned. You're going to pay back some rebate agreements this year. You're also going to pay some debt payments this year of $590,000. So remaining debt capacity that's not obligated is about $7.5 million. That's about 55% of your debt capacity, a much better or stronger number than last year. Again, just due to that growth in valuation, we go from about a 40% remaining debt capacity to about a 55%. And that makes me feel really good for the city. Most cities tell us they don't want to issue more than 80% of their total debt. With that being said, we would take about $2.6 million off of that number, and that would leave you remaining debt capacity of about $4.8 million. Again, about $2.7 million higher than that number last year. And so that just gives us some flexibility. I'm not telling the city to go out and issue any general obligation debt, but it gives you some flexibility for the future. And then lastly, we just have some blue pages, and I'll just simply recap that. Our blue pages talk about the growth in your TIF area overall between commercial, industrial, residential. You've had growth of about $54 million in valuation growth, and that's taxable. So it's after everybody's rollbacks. That produces about $1.7 million of receipts a year that you could be eligible to receive. You have obligations only though of that $180,000 a year, that rebate agreement of about $22,000 a year. So you're unclaiming TIF dollars of about 1.48 million. That doesn't mean you can go out and claim those dollars. The dollars that, the valuation that makes that up, those roll back into the city, the county, and the school budget because technically you don't have the obligations to collect those dollars. And for every dollar that you would take out of dollars that are not maybe showing growth, you would also start to hurt your own general fund that way. So we have real good conversations on an annual basis about how many dollars you can be collecting, what those obligations are. But overall, the city looks very healthy. The debt capacity growth is really great. We're seeing that in most cities that we work with. We don't really have any main concerns for the city or the council at this time about debt or TIF. But if you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions? No?
Just looking for.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, so then I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve. Okay, motion by Cummins,
Second?
seconded by Walker.
Cummins?
Yes.
Helm?
Yes.
Welker?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the second item under city business. Resolution number 111824A is resolution to accept and approve the 2024 urban renewal report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2024.
I will handle this one. This is one of a handful of reports that is required by the state to be filed by the December 1st deadline. This report is a summary of all of our TIP receipts and expenses for the prior fiscal year 23-24. On that first page, you'll notice that our revenue totaled $252,755. Our expenditures was higher at $396,358. We knew that was coming, so those expenditures are the trip, drip, Hardacre. We had partners 524, so there was some significant expenses which we knew were happening. So we've kind of put a plan into place for future years of claiming a bit more in TIF while also reducing the trip and drip amounts that are passed out to applicants. So to try to kind of offset and better balance those revenues and expenditures. So if anyone has any questions on this report. I'll make a motion to
Questions?
approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Cummins, seconded by Helm.
Helm?
Yes.
Welker?
Yes.
Cummins?
Yes.
All right, next is discussion and a possible action concerning the 2025-2026 tax increment financing indebtedness report.
So this report is looking at the future 25-26 TIP claims that we have to certify to the county by December. So if you, in your council packet on page 72, there is an Excel sheet that's prepared that kind of gives a better visual of what we're claiming in current year and future years. And at that bottom total, one thing that Maggie was talking about is there's a lot of TIP increment available, but what we want to do is kind of keep that at a level base claim each year so that we're not taking away or impacting the schools and ourselves. So you'll see we did increase though our claim for this upcoming fiscal year by about 25, closer to 30,000. And some of those is requesting more drip and trip paybacks, as well as adding in a trip reimbursement for O'Rourke, and then the GEO bond reimbursement of 180,000. So this is requesting approval to do that and submit it to the state. Any questions on that? Motion.
Okay, motion by Cummins,
I will second.
seconded by Welker.
Helm,
Yes.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins,
Okay, next is resolution number 1824B. Resolution approving the street finance report for road use tax funds used on city streets and parking.
This is another report that's required to be filed with the DOT in order to continue receiving our road use tax funds for the year. This fiscal year, we received $444,804 in road use tax, which was $11,000 higher than what we received in the prior fiscal year. Our expenses were only $164,732, and that's because the first payment of the North Plum Street project didn't happen until after July 1st. So we'll see those expenses on next year's street report.
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion by Helm, seconded by Welker.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Right, next is discussion and possible action concerning the 2023-2024 annual financial report.
This report is a very high-level report. It's prepared by our auditors of our prior fiscal year FY 23-24 budget. It's going to be pretty hard to find any details in here. It's basically just a very high-level summary of where we ended the fiscal year at, and just another requirement to be filed by December 1st. So if there are questions regarding the budget, I'd be happy to entertain those and look into the details a little bit more in a different report.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Cummins, seconded by Helm. Every time I get ready to say question, something,
Preguntas que hace.
like I feel like I can't make eye contact with anyone. With the question.
Welker.
Yes.
Cummins, Helm,
Yes.
All right, resolution number 111824C. Resolution setting the time and place for public hearing for the purpose of soliciting written and oral comments on the city's proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendment.
This is an early budget amendment that we're proposing to do to have a public hearing at your next meeting on December 2nd. What this includes is some grant proceeds that we received, as well as increasing revenue for the Highway 38 project that we had received some funds from the federal part of it, and then some insurance reimbursements that we received. We also increased some expenditures for a DCIA grant, as well as the library is wanting to use some funds out of their Fund 189, and they didn't have a budget for that, so we created that for them as well. Any questions?
Motion. Second.
Okay, so the motion is to set the time for the public hearing, right, for December 2nd, yes. Okay, so motion by Welker, seconded by Helm.
Cummins, Helm,
Yes.
Welker,
Okay, resolution number 111824D is resolution accepting the completion of the North Plum Street Improvement Project 2024 and approving pay application number 4 and change order number 1 regarding final quantities.
This one has to do with accepting the project as complete. Also, there are 2 pay apps. Number 4 is for $33,065.79. The other one is it's also All American Concrete Change Order 1, and it was a minor reduction in the original bid amount. So $453,885.60. And again, the resolution approves the payment of both number 1 and number 2, and it accepts the project as complete, as recommended by Jack Pope, our engineer. And then this is split out between two resolutions, so the next resolution also has to do with North Plum.
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion by Helm, seconded by Walker.
Helm,
Yes.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 111824E is resolution authorizing the payment of supplemental contract and remaining retainage for the North Plum Street Improvement Project 2024.
And this has to do with primarily authorizing the payment of remaining retainage. We withhold 5% from each payment. So that amount is $22,694.28. And that authorizes that retainage be paid out 30 days after after this approval. The other is a supplemental contract for warranty work for $550. And the reason for that is approving it now allows us to approve the retainage being paid out. So you don't have to come back and settle a supplemental contract later. It's taken care of here.
Okay, motion by Cummins,
I'll second.
seconded by Walker.
Helm,
Yes.
Welker,
Yes.
Cummins.
Okay, discussion and possible action concerning proposed engineering contract amendment number 3 by Garden and Associates for work done on the North Plum Street project. This was a discussion that was tabled at our October 21st meeting.
Yeah, and Jack is on the line here to update the council or answer questions, but this supplemental agreement is for $12,000. It has to do with engineering costs that go beyond what was contracted so far. In this proposal, Garden and Associates is writing off basically a like amount. So basically it's 50-50. I guess I want to make a comment about when this came up back in October. I think it got kind of pushed together with what had happened on East Fifth Street and Origin. And it was kind of seen similarly, but they really aren't. In that Origin case, it was a mistake in the field, a mistake in the engineering, and then correction being needed. This situation on North Plum was based on the engineer's original estimate of the work that he thought his firm would need to do related to this project. But there were he mentioned 6 things in an earlier email that we forwarded to you earlier, where it wasn't due to mistakes made, it was due to being called upon extra in a way that wasn't possible to be estimated. But I guess from there, Jack, do you want to go into this further with your an explanation?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. No, you've explained it very well. You're correct. It was additional time we spent. It was above and beyond what we originally estimated when we put the contract together. And I will add this, I've been doing projects up in Tipton for 25 years, and this is the first time I remember coming back for a contract amendment for this amount for extra work we had doing the project. So, but otherwise, yeah, you're correct. It was time we spent in the field that was not related to any errors. It was just additional work on the project.
But this was not work that was brought to us ahead of time to approve, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And then, it's kind of hard to stop working in the middle of the project when the contractor's out there to get approval, I guess. So, we proceeded with, due course, just to continue on the project.
I think there was a couple of instances where there was water main, where they broke or cut through the water main. There was the driveway issues.
This was-
My driveway, more specifically. Like, I was like, what was the rest of what was on the list?
And it wasn't the water main breaks, it was more us adjusting the storm sewer because of the water main conflicts. And then as far as the driveways go, yeah, numerous driveways were removed where we would have tied into the existing driveway. So the contractor required us to set elevations at the end of where the work would have stopped for the city, I guess, that we wouldn't have anticipated doing.
So I think some of these things were just things that had to be done on the fly. And it is accurate that your company's writing off basically a like amount.
Correct. That is correct. Yep.
It didn't have anything to do with homeowners wanting stuff extra that we ended up getting the bill for.
Well, that's a good question. And I don't know that I know the answer to that question.
Jack?
No, we didn't do it. We didn't do any work for private homeowners, no. Or for the contractor related to those private issues with the homeowners, I guess. So
I guess my question would be, as far as, what is the city being charged for your services in regards to private driveways?
it's just setting the elevations for the driveway, as surveying work.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I don't know that any of the 6 items in his email that the mayor has summarized, I don't see them myself as being out of line.
No, and I think probably some of these things, a couple of these things were probably extra trips that were based on my requests. Some of them, I think that the like number 6 on the list was the communication company had to have elevations immediately raised. I think this was probably 1314 North Plum. I had called them about that time frame. There was a couple different things. There were the beehive heights that the neighbors had concerns about. There was the Clarence Telephone or Cedar County Communications, whatever they're called now. Their box at 1314 Plum Street was buried under, it was covered up and needed to be uncovered. And again, the traffic control, not just my driveway traffic control, but the street in itself with people moving. People were moving the barricades to get up the street. So I think between All American Concrete and Steve Nash, I think they made multiple trips up probably to try to figure out how to keep people off the street even once it was gravel.
And how did they do that?
More barricades. Barricades, cones, flags.
Well, they can't not get paid for work that they did, I guess. That's my opinion.
I will motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Walker, seconded by Cummins.
Walker,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Helm,
Yes.
Okay, that concludes city business. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, moving on to reports. Mayor, council.
I just want to say that it's really bright and nice out by my work. And I've had other people that work out there that have commented on that. So it's really nice. I feel safe. So, yeah.
I've had a couple of people comment on it too, on how bright it is
it's
coming
nice,
into town. In the new edition out on South 38.
Yeah, because
Maybe
I
he
had
hasn't
somebody
noticed.
over by, I had somebody over, like the Ameriprise is over there, and
Mm-hmm.
they mentioned it, and yeah, it's just, yeah. And with Prairie Hills, I see people walking, I'm telling you, up and down that road sometimes, I was like, ooh.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I feel a little better, I won't run them off the road or anything, hopefully.
Very well.
Today, anyway.
Looks like Mr. Brennan has something to say.
Lynch Excavating come to town on the 5th. They were here for 2.5 days. The Widowmaker manhole, remember that was a twofer,
Mhm.
that bid, and it included one on Inland Road. They're both done. He was able to get Hanson Asphalt in here the very following week.
Awesome.
7th and Orange got asphalted. Inland Road asphalt wasn't included. We were able to piggyback on with Hanson and got separate billing, so that got asphalted too. So that window is getting very narrow. And switching over to water, George is one guy who got this letter that I'm gonna talk about, but 11.
Nasty Graham.
I got it too. I
Yeah,
got two of them actually.
so 1,150 letters went out, and got a lot of big help from the gals at city office, so appreciate that. But I want to take this opportunity to encourage everybody, please reach out to me. The main response I'm getting is, well, okay, what do we do? We're going to test the water. That's not the point. The letter must have, for some reason, they focus on that, but what it really is to do is to identify that water line coming into the house. And we got to get that into the inventory, and that's an EPA mandate. And I've only got 18 since Friday out of 1,150 letters. So hopefully that continues, those calls continue to come in. And so anybody asks you, anybody wants to know, encourage them, please get a hold of me. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. John? No? Lisa?
Tomorrow should be groundbreaking for the garage.
Awesome.
We're really excited.
We having a ribbon cutting or
It's
a cake party?
When it's done, maybe. Well.
I'll ask.
It's all about having a party.
I haven't gotten that far. But it'll be nice.
Linda? Nothing? Okay. Council? Brian?
Stuart's got something to say.
Okay, all right.
Just keep in mind, since you brought up the lights out there by the south end of town, north end of town's pretty dark. Looking at doing that next year, so.
Yeah, we don't care about the north end. I guess I have to go that direction sometimes too.
We don't care about the north end.
You really notice how dark it is that way.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially
No, did
Yes.
you get that quote?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
When it gets dark earlier, you do. You just.
Right.
I
We don't care about the north end. That's said by Abby Cumming.
Pull that down.
Damn it, Stuart.
All right.
Put that as the headline. Damn it,
Councilwoman,
Stuart.
Councilwoman doesn't care about north end.
Right,
News of
all right,
11.
all right. I don't have anything either, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion by Cummins, seconded by Helm. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Come in, tell.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm answering yes for all of